when it comes to inspiring people in the gym, you got to create a fun environment. You got to connect with people. You can't bring whatever is outside on your shoulders into the room. You got to figure out a way to connect.
Hey, good afternoon. This is Eric LeClaire over at Push Press, and we're continuing our In the Trenches series. And if you happen to own a gym in LA or be a coach in LA or have traveled to the Los Angeles area, this next gentleman who I just have to say one word, and that's Dogtown, you will know Dusty Hyland. And if you've had a chance to talk to any of the athletes that he's worked with or any of the students and the clients that he trains, you'll recognize immediately the spirit and the camaraderie, the enthusiasm that is brought to his coaching methodology. So I'm super happy to have Dusty on today. I know that we both are in the LA area and we've got a ton of fires burning around us. So if you see some ash and some crappy weather behind us, don't worry about it at all. We're both taking care of ourselves. But Dusty, man, thank you. I'm so glad you're on today.
Thanks, man. Glad to be here with you, Eric. Glad to share my story, and hopefully people can grab some gold nuggets out of our ramblings today, and hopefully maybe learn some things from our mistakes as well. You know, you said start wherever, but ask me a question, I guess. I don't know, like maybe start pre-CrossFit strength and conditioning. I don't know.
For sure. I mean, most folks at this point, I mean, I know there's a lot of folks that either gravitated towards the CrossFit brand through the games.
Sure.
And so they would recognize Dogtown, or they would recognize you personally. They recognize the Skill Wad, recognize the athletes that you've worked with. But let's start before CrossFit. So I know you've got a decade under your belt coaching. Mm-hmm. What was before 2010? How did you get involved athletically? I know there was a ton professionally on the gymnastics side, but where did you find the penchant for strength and conditioning? How did that become a reality?
You know, it was a kind of a weird kind of way I got involved with the CrossFit community and strength and conditioning. I was it kind of pivoted after my grandfather died of cancer. I was sort of out of shape and sort of at a crossroads. I was around 30 years old and somewhat kind of in a rut, one would say. And, his words were inspiring before he passed away. He looked at me from the hospital bed and he said, "You don't look happy." He's like, he was 93. And he said, "Go do something that makes you happy. Life goes by in an instant." And he snapped his fingers at me and it just stayed with me. And it was that made me go back to the gym. I actually quit a job I was not enjoying in the entertainment industry. And I went back and I didn't know what to do, to be honest with you. I didn't even really know how to work out. The only way I knew how to work out was as an athlete. Right. And I think I had a gym membership at Bally's that I was still paying $20 a month for. I'd been there a couple times and it was like it felt like where people went to die. I swear to God, it still feels that way to me. You know, that's why I gravitated towards CrossFit so much. But, I remember going in there and just looking at people running on treadmills, watching reruns of Cheers, other people standing in the corner doing bicep curls, staring at each other in the mirror, just aimlessly wandering around. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to freak out. So I went back to the gymnastics gym and I didn't really know what to do, but I knew there was a cool stunt community in Los Angeles. And I started getting in shape. I just went back to the gym and I started a regimen of basic gymnastics. Started jumping on the trampoline, started doing some of the things that made me happy as a kid. And gymnastics was a competitive endeavor for me for a long time. But then I got burned out on it in my early 20s and college, what have you. Right. So I went there and I literally lost, I swear to God, that desk weight. I was sitting at a desk for like 4 or 5 years. It was like 30 pounds. Wow. And I was back and it took me about 3 months and I trained at a local gymnastics gym and I did some part-time coaching there and I ran into some stunt folks and some really amazing people. LA's got a bevy of talented, amazing people. And back in the 2000s, CrossFit didn't even really exist. And all these athletes were coming into adult gymnastics, and I got intertwined with some folks, and I got hired as I get paid a couple extra bucks here and there to just do little coordinating pieces on a stage performance at the Ricardo Montalban Theater, and then I kind of meandered my way into another group of stunt goers, young guys coming up that were working on these low budge indie MMA fight movies, and I really loved just being physical again and learning some new skills and learning to use hands and learning how to fake fight on my left and my right, and going into people's backyards and like sort of just kind of finding fitness again for real. And one day Andy Petronic walked into my adult gymnastics class, and he was the tightest, still is, tightest hips, tightest ankles, tightest shoulders, fit guy I'd ever met in my life. And I was like, what are you doing here? And he was like, dude, I'm here to learn gymnastics. And I was like, why do you want to learn gymnastics? You can't even like open your arms. And he, it's so funny. And you should hear the other side of the story, because he's like, yo, I met Dusty. He was like out of shape, but like the fittest guy I'd ever met. Like, it's super funny. But so he invited me down to Petronic Fitness, and I tried my first CrossFit class. Not a real class, but I just worked out with him. We did like a Tabata, something else,
bunch of stuff,
combination of shit. And he just crushed me, and not that he crushed me, the workout crushed me. And I was just laying there, and this is the non-original story of the beginning of like falling in love with fitness and training. But I felt challenged in a way that I hadn't in a really long time. So I started doing a little bit of strength and conditioning and CrossFit to supplement my my stunt work and to stay in shape and to get a little more durable. I hadn't even really seriously picked up a barbell before that, so I didn't even know how to use my hamstrings. And it was an experience. Now, one of my good friends, Adam, who's still my business partner today, is around the same time, kind of checking out CrossFit on the website and all this stuff, and kind of trying to do a little bit in the garage. And then he actually got cancer, and then he had to go through some recovery, and then we sort of both kind of gravitated towards CrossFit around the same time, and started to use it to get healthy again. And lo and behold, I got a job, took me out of town. 2008, I got hired to do a stunt show in Chicago for the summer, 4 months. And put together, it was a big deal for me because it was like a real gig, and it was from the producers of 24. You remember the old Kiefer Sutherland thing? And we flew out there. We installed this live action stunt show in this little Six Flags out there near Chicago, and it was a wild summer. And when I came back, Adam had gravitated towards and tried to open CrossFit Culver City in conjunction with another Krav Maga facility. So I kind of began training there. And at the time, I was also doing training in Venice. So I came home and I started picking up personal training clients. I had gotten my certification, my first level 1 certification, started doing that. And I felt like I was working at a gym where it was traditional training, and I was doing CrossFit, and I was having all my private training clients just explore that universe. And people didn't even know what that word, it was like a bad word before it was even a word, right? CrossFit was like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Right. And so anyway, I developed a cadre of about 10 private clients. And I don't even know how I did this to this day, because I lived in Venice. Adam started CrossFit Culver City in Culver City, and I convinced 7 to 8 of my clients to come with me to drive across town, which is, that's like an hour in LA, right? Like, at the wrong time, it's like an hour. And to come to the other gym and do their PT there. And I started doing a gymnastics class there. I mean, nobody even knew what the heck was going on.
It was just a bunch of training methodologies all together.
It was wild, right? Right around that time, Val showed up. Val Voberil, she kind of reared her ugly head. I mean that in the sweetest way. But started crushing me in workouts at CrossFit Culver City. And and we all became just kind of a merry band of crazies. And 2009 I think it was 08. Is it 08? Yeah, that was 08. 08, a lot of stuff is going on, right? So we're doing that. My brother-in-law died of leukemia. It was tragic and super stressful. And that's, I swear to you, like when I was talking about when we weren't on the podcast, and I was talking about living just sort of in the moment and being able to walk away from everything. It was just, it was like, it was galvanized then in my mind. Like I was just like, I'm not going to feel that terrible again. I don't want to lose that much. It was just struggling with that. You know, my sister going through that and having 2 kids to raise and all that stuff. But, you know, the training kind of took off along with CrossFit Culver City. People just started to kind of just gravitate there. And I think Val made it to the games in 09, and we sort of, I was the last one that was up in Aromas, and I didn't get to go to that one, but man, there was just a lot of positive energy around CrossFit and all that stuff. And so the following year, Adam and I, and then our third partner, we decided we were going to open a gym, and it took us forever. Nobody wanted to rent a space. There was a million spots open. There was never a place with parking. There was issues everywhere. We looked all over Los Angeles. We finally got lucky enough that there was this little crappy Secret Desires joint in Culver City that the Culver City Chamber of Commerce wanted out. And so we snuck in and we got that lease, and then we started Dogtown in 2010. So
where'd that come from? Share with me where the name Dogtown comes from.
Well, we came up with a few different names. And even at that time, there were probably about 4,000 affiliates, and a lot of the names that we liked were gone. We liked Dogtown. We originally wanted to start a gym in the Venice, Santa Monica area, in that area of town. We love the spirit, the adventurous sort of birth of skateboarding and that counterculture that happened in the late 70s and early 80s. And we felt akin to that in terms of what was happening at our gym. And so, you know, we also happen to love dogs. So that was, it was a twofer, right? And then the other is we wanted our own brand. Even then, like even in 2010, we didn't want to be CrossFit Dogtown. We didn't want to be, you know, CrossFit Culver City. We thought, you know, let's put something to this, and let's make it our own. And so that's how it came to be.
I dig it. So you get a chance to kind of watch and see how others, I think about this all the time, at least. I mean, from that early stage, people were feeling their way through the dark with this, setting up a gym, starting a gym, building brands, recruiting, training, retaining. I mean, think about today, 2020, what's available to affiliate owners and micro gym owners, just even on the tech stack and social media and the opportunities there. Not much of that existed in 6, 7, 8, 9, even 10. I mean, it was like figuring it out for a lot of folks as they went forward. Where did you draw that inspiration truly from? Was it the group of you were like, we're not going to fail, we want to make this happen? Or were you always the leader? Were you always the one that was out front doing the hard?
There was a group of people from the beginning, Adam and myself, and then Liz Burns and Adam's wife at the time, Melissa. Those were the original owners of the gym. And then there were some people in the community that were really, really instrumental in not only helping, putting together a logo and figuring out how to print shirts. I mean, dude, we're talking like Hanes beefy tees.
Yeah. Yep.
We're talking,
like super thick. Like, get this off. Want to wear this? We
had the biggest. We ordered the biggest rig that Bill had ever made at the time, which was 60 feet long. and he was in a 4 square spot in the original Rogue
Yep.
building that is now, I think they use for offices or something now, when he built our rig for us. We had to get and source, and Adam did a lot of this early on, but we got an ass load of dumbbells. We just knew that like there were things that, and he did a great job at that. You know, we invested in, you know, he invested early on in Concept 2 rowers, and went and pursued kettlebell work. So, you know, we really spread ourselves apart, and, you know, I stepped in with the gymnastics stuff, and it really made an interesting mix of coaching styles, methodologies, and, you know, balance, which is
that makes sense. I mean, so who ran, if you
checks and balances it?
Who ran the operation? So if you were coaching, training, sourcing, did you also do the back end of the business as well?
So for the better part of 3.5, 4 years, we had a CFO, and and that was Liz. And then she parted ways and moved to Arizona to pursue some work with OPT. And then Adam and I split most of her work. We had some underlings and some folks work for us, and split up some of that work, but we didn't have a named CFO after that.
Right.
And, you know, when we completed our run in that lease space, we tried to re-up the lease, and, you know, the landlords in LA, they do their thing.
Yep.
And, and we were at the peak of our, and what I would say is our success in 2014, 2015. We were on a community front, kind of hitting our stride, raising money for cancer, doing Crush Cancer. We were, I had athletes competing at the games. You know, we had our membership up above 300 to 400 members, active members.
Yep.
And so when the landlord stepped in and said, "Hey, you know, I want double the rent," you know, we had,
like,
again, I felt like we were just leading the way for a lot of folks that were going to have to deal with this very similar problems. You know, we didn't expect to be there. We expected the lease, a lease extension to be in the best interest of everyone. And so we began our search again. And that was a tough one.
I know that feeling. We went through 3 buildings in 15 years, and each one felt like, just like you said, we hit our stride. This is fantastic. Let's stay the course. And all of a sudden you get that knock on the door, and they're like, "Oh, hey, by the way, in 90 days, these are the new terms."
Right.
And you're like, typing online, trying to figure out where are we going.
And you know, Eric, and I'm sure you can relate to this too, but you get to that place and you're like, you know what, we're doing good. We can move. It won't be a big deal, right? We'll just slide into another spot. It won't be far away.
Yep.
Minimal build out.
Street. You know, no, it's never like that. Never.
So 2015, we found a spot. It was literally the biggest battle in the last 3 years that I've ever had to face.
Wild. Financial, legal, what was with the city?
Financial, legal, but before that, you know, just not knowing what we know now about. We basically just build a gym from the ground up, right? We moved into a space that was raw. It wasn't even zoned.
Wow.
So we had to go through and jump through building permitting. We went through 2 contractors. The first one didn't work out. He was way in over his head. It just didn't work out. The second one did a good job, but was under the gun because we literally had to get out of our other space, and it wasn't completed. And so we were juggling a ton of stuff, not only on the city side, but on the legal side of things. We didn't have power. We didn't have things set in. You know, things weren't put in correctly. So, you know, you're always backtracking and trying to get things fixed. And then our landlords were just unforgiving. They were terrible. And they're still our landlords, but I can say that openly because we ultimately had to sue them and take them to court, which is...
Wow. Dude, that is not the battle you want to have being a strength coach, trying to care for your clientele. Like, 8, 9, 10 hours a day working with people. And then, oh, by the way, we're in a lawsuit with people we're trying. I can't imagine it. Sucks, man.
We had a tenant improvement allowance provided for in the commercial lease agreement that we all signed that included a rent abatement. I'll give you the highlights. And we asked for reimbursement as the build out was occurring. We provided check statements and releases, and they were reluctant. We had a meeting. They gave us a laundry list of things that were not reasonable in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
We had our building contractor sign off on and give them a release for all the work that they'd done so that they could write us a check so that we could continue to not only run our business, but finish out what we had to complete. They didn't pay us a dime. We ended up getting all of the work completed after I, borrowed a ton of money. We borrowed a ton of money and did what we needed to do. And so we had a couple arbitrations with them, and they valued our work at a third of what it actually cost us. So
of course.
It left us no choice. And then we literally took them to court. It got pushed from a bench trial to a trial.
Jesus.
In front of a jury. And they found in our favor breach of contracts, all of the stuff, all the money back, right? Plus our lawyer's fees because it's stipulated in the contract. And they fought it again.
I'm sure they did.
Went to appeals court. So, obviously, people with money and power use their money and power as leverage.
Always. Sounds
they
familiar.
just tried to just get us to run us out of business, basically.
Yep.
And ultimately ended up costing them upwards of $500,000 when they just owed us, just over 6 figures.
Something. Wow.
Yeah,
man.
It's just, and literally that was a 3-year span. So we opened in 2015. That didn't even get completed till 2018.
Talk about a representation of your resilience, not only as an athlete, as a coach, as a business owner, but you're like, I'm not gonna back down. I'm not gonna die here, man. So that's tremendous stress to carry on your back, on top of carrying on your back the normal roles and responsibilities as the business owner. How did you solve that? How did you care for yourself? I mean, that might sound kind of cheesy, but how did you digest all that stress and be able to go do and be there for your coaches and your clients?
Well, I'll tell you what, we were lucky enough to have a lot of good coaches and a lot of good people within our community. I think the hardest thing about having stressful situations, cloud, whatever business you're running is you can pretend like it's not there, but it always is. So the more you can be transparent with your clients and not talk about it every day, but keep them in the loop and let them understand that where you're at and what's going on. I think it was actually valuable in a way because it kind of, we closed ranks a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, everybody at the gym was like, okay, here comes another noise complaint, right? Like, this is all BS, right? Like, this is just, it's all what it is. And so how did I take care of myself? I will tell you how we took care of ourselves. The biggest thing that I think that I took away from losing my brother-in-law and sort of traversing through my early 30s was I had to kind of find a rhythm that allowed me space to train at least a bit for mental stress more than anything.
Right.
So, and that continues to this day. I work out 5 days a week. I find time, and I actually don't find time. I actually schedule it in so that it happens. Otherwise it won't.
It's lost. Right.
Right. And I realized that was the pathos for me. And then how could I make that not only more efficient, but smarter? So as I've grown and as I've aged, I think I've become a much more attuned coach. I've learned so much, not only from mistakes, but from other coaches. And I continue to try and reach out to, over the last 5 years, reached out and worked with some of the leaders in our community and other strength and conditioning disciplines, but to learn, to continue to grow and try and apply it to my own training, just so that I have a very good frame of reference when it comes to staying connected with our clientele. Not that I need to know more than them, but I want to have empathy and I want to be able to communicate with them. And I want to be able to say, hey, this is how you're feeling and this is why you're feeling. This may be why, right?
Right.
You know, overtraining as an athlete is something that I think we all had to kind of sort through as a community. You know, this excitement of CrossFit and strength and conditioning and this explosion of just sheer like life, right? Like people want to feel alive. They want to work out. They want to feel great. Right. They want to get those endorphins going.
Yep.
But what is the long-term plan, and how does your nervous system respond to overtraining? What is overtraining? What are your goals? How do we better define what a lifestyle that is encompassing training? What does it look like for the average person that comes into the gym?
Right. Totally different than the competitor or the individual that's young enough to handle those stressors.
100%. Right. 100%. It's all geared around the same stuff, right? But we need to be a lot more cognizant of our volume, our consecutive days of training, what we're stacking on top of each other, and what is happening, right? We get, through all that, Eric. So through all that, so that finished in 18, but like I just did a podcast recently with a bunch of masters, and they were like, so after 2016, like what happened to you? And I was just like, I was kind of done, right? Like I had a run from like 2011 to 2016 where I was coaching, traveling, and working nonstop.
Yep.
Nonstop. There wasn't an off season. There wasn't an off season for my clients, the biggest ones, right? And that was the knock on some of them at times. It was like you're not getting enough rest. You're not getting the things that you need. And it's like success. Ask The Rock how much rest he's getting, right? And I'm not comparing myself to The Rock, but I'm just talking about people there are people that are busier than me that are managing it better. And what I realized was I wasn't managing it very well. It got out of control. And so I needed to scale it back a little bit, needed to deal with some of the business stuff and try and find a way to make a better life and living for myself and still continue to be effective as a coach.
No, that makes sense. I mean, you're constantly pouring out or giving out or caring externally, all while your energy gauge or your gas gauge is just going down.
For sure.
I can totally empathize with that statement. You made a comment earlier that you love to connect with other coaches, other trainers, particularly in different methodologies. Oftentimes we go in the direction of asking about lessons learned, particularly when it comes to continuing education or business systems, or whatever. But before I get to that, I just want to ask, who have been your favorite to collab with? Who are the guys or the gals that you miss or look forward to hanging with next time you catch up?
Well, I love there's a lot of them. I'm a big fan of a lot of the long time coaches that are out there. I would say Coach Bergner is always a treasure to hang out with when I can see him. I would say I always relate well to Ben Bergeron. We always have a good conversation. I like his approach to training and fitness. He's such a great listener and a person that is somewhat of an open book whenever we chat, which is great. Doug Chapman. We have very, very different approaches and techniques to things, but we've had some fantastic conversations. Chris Hinshaw is always somebody that I love working with and chatting with. He's so smart and always in the numbers and loves to talk numbers. The person that I've been spending most of my time with lately is Tim Thackeray.
Yep.
And what I love about Tim is he has a bedside manner very much to mine. What I mean by that is it's like talking to a friend.
Right.
And I love that about that relationship because that is the approach I really try and take with all my clients is when you feel open and you feel accepted and you feel heard, the conversation flows, and
right.
And the structure, it's so funny. It's like we agree on a lot of things. We agree on we respect each other for the expertise that we have in our certain areas. But he is a numbers guy, and I love that about him. And the things that I know are constantly reinforced by some of the things that I do in the gym. Right. Things that I've been trying to impart to clients for years. Things that we know, right? Things that we know, that low aerobic work once a week is super vital to getting your central nervous system to recover, getting your body to de-stress, to mentally just do that. But doing it and knowing it are two different things, right? And being able to apply that and having it rain benefit in my life allows me to set the example and be able to talk about it. And I love that about him because he holds me to it. He holds me to it.
I feel one of two things. I feel like either A, you've seen who we've had on In the Trenches, or B, we hang in the same circles. Because the folks that you just rattled off, I was really happy to have Doug on not too long ago. I think he was like episode 5 or 6 or something like that. Sure. I hadn't seen Doug, God, for 10 years, and we picked up like we just saw it this weekend.
Right. And I can't go without talking about Jeff. Jeff Tucker is somebody that gave me a shot, believed in me, and and was an open book. Right, was just so freaking cool from the get-go, and I appreciate that. He's a real dude, which is
absolutely hands down.
I still call him from time to time. We chat and. Just about life. That's not even about like whatever.
Yeah, I mean, because here you are. You said 45. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So 10 years as an owner, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years as, moving through sport and all of its different definitions and methodologies. That's a chunk of time to grow and evolve as a man, now as a husband, but business owner. All of those facets have different roles and responsibilities that you have to be able to adjust for. In all of that, let's put it at 2010 forward for the audience. Number one lesson learned. What are your thoughts? Maybe in a business transaction, maybe it's the lawsuit, maybe it's contractual, maybe it's financial. Any stand out as your like definitive lesson learned in 10 years of running the gym?
I think that I think the one thing is one thing as a business owner is you should have a lawyer you can trust. I know that sounds crazy.
But, no, trust me. I think that's going to be the title of the episode. Trust. Man, so I'm assuming there may have been.
I mean, I'll tell you what. It's not that simple, but I will say this. Having a business partner and having some people around you that can give you good advice, and sometimes good advice is to say nothing.
Right.
Is to let things go their natural way.
Right.
It's okay, right? You don't have to point out all of the wrongs that have happened.
Makes total sense.
I know it sounds counterproductive in a way, where we live in a world where it's like this is right and this is wrong, but as a business owner, you have to.
Yeah, I could totally get that.
You got to be able to step back and let things slide off your back. It's the old Bruce Lee be like water type of scenario. Is
that hard?
To be ready for everything.
Or was that hard for you to kind of roll into that statement and allow things to process at their own pace?
I think that in certain moments, in certain aspects, I would say as a coach, I've realized in certain coaching scenarios, coaching specific athletes, on various levels that you can't want it more than the athlete. And that doesn't mean, that means the kid that walks in for your intro on Monday, or, you know,
you can't pull
an
them.
Olympian, right?
Can't.
You know, there is that level, and I think that's what's made me a better coach as I've aged. Is, you know, what we ultimately are looking for from a coaching perspective is a healthy relationship, a person that understands and communicates and understands the goals, the whys of the training, that we're symbiotic in that respect, and then ultimately they're enjoying it, right?
Yeah,
they're enjoying it, and then they want that goal as much as you want it or more, right? So there's that.
Totally.
There's that thing. It's
that.
Wild, and it doesn't need to be about a CrossFit athlete. It can be about, like, I was amazed by this guy that came into our gym who lost 200 pounds, and he didn't lose it all with us. He lost about 100 pounds. He was on his couch. He was 500 pounds. He lost 100 pounds by cleaning up his nutrition and then walking and doing low aerobic work. And then he made his way. Yeah. And then he made his way to a 24-hour fitness, and he started doing some light squatting and basic exercises, core strengthening. And then by the time he made it to us, he was still a very rotund individual. And he was one of my favorite athletes because he just was so compliant. He was so on time, and he was so dialed in every time he stepped foot in the gym.
Yeah, talk about internally motivated versus externally motivated. Incredible.
So we lost him. He got it promoted, and then he got engaged, and he lives in Pasadena now, and he's a good dude. But like, that's a success story, right? Like for us, you know, the client arcs are crazy, right? And that's a success story. You know, people aren't going to be with you forever unless they never move, they never do anything. And you know, those are the things that I take from the healthy conversations I've had from other coaches, and a good reminder that, you know,
that's huge.
The people that you want, the people that you're going to affect the most, are going to seek you out.
Makes sense.
More often than not.
Yeah, you can't go running around, grab everybody and pull them in and say, now you're going to stay here with me for 10 years.
Well, Eric, I have a question for you. So you guys run Push Press, right? This is, you know, correct. It's a company that is about marketing good gym business practices, right?
Principles, system, processes. Yep. Yes.
You know, the best marketing that we ever did at Dogtown was just taking care of the clients that come through the door.
Yep.
And after 10 years, that was the best advice I'd ever gotten. And it's a good thing I like to coach, right? Because when you take care of the clients,
they in turn,
they take care of you.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's a different world now, right? I mean, there's a ton of marketing to be done on Instagram and Facebook, and there's different approaches that I'm sure that you've been going through and talking to other coaches about.
Yeah.
You know, we relied heavily on reputation and coaching to the best of our ability, providing.
Well, that's huge.
Programming.
I was going to say, I'll jump in on that real quick, because that's a lost art and a gift and something that's developed as the coach matures. I've not run into many coaches that actually, younger coaches, I should say, that can say that yet. They're not there psychologically from a mature level.
Right.
But I'm glad you brought that up. I think that's a pivot point when coaches recognize they're going to stay in this for the long run, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, you know, whatever it is, or they get out in 2 years and then they go sell cars or something. They go do something else. That's huge.
Right. You know, I think that there's a lot of not coaching happening.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of great coaches out there too.
This and go and faster and a bunch of yelling. Oh yeah.
Well,
I see.
You know, and programming is a thing, right? Programming is a thing. Smart programming is very important, right? But implementing it, being able to step in and scale things the appropriate way, move a class a different direction, maybe recognize in the room that nobody's feeling this or they're burned out on just this, and just throwing it all to the wayside and, playing freeze tag or, whatever it is.
Thinking
creates a healthy environment and gets people back from sort of the toxicity that we're.
I was going to say, thinking through that, would that be you think that would be a poignant message to deliver? I mean, I say this as we, get a chance to really connect and get to know some coaches, particularly that, are willing to share and are humble enough to share what they've learned using the Push Press platform, and those individuals that, will watch this. We have coaches that are struggling. We have gym owners that are struggling. We have gyms that have been shut down. You and I both know in LA, all the way down to San Diego, there's a ton of affiliates and micro gyms that have had to close during COVID.
Yeah.
We got some folks on the fence, individuals that are maybe in need of some inspiration or some motivation. If you were to be able to use today's platform to deliver something exceptional, what message would you leave them with today?
I would say this, and I say this because it applies to me, and is that we have to start at the beginning every day. And, when it comes to inspiring people in the gym, is you got to create a fun environment. You got to connect with people. You can't bring whatever is outside on your shoulders into the room. If you're lucky enough to be coaching classes inside, right? You got to figure out a way to connect. Right now, our gym is not open. Okay. Yep. We're playing by the rules, and the rules suck, but we're taking classes to the park, which is a block away. Right. We've been doing this for a while, and all we have are dumbbells, and we've been teaching class in the park, and we'll do it again today. And we have 15 people show up. Now,
I love it.
There's no mistake that training in the park with a pair of dumbbells is the most obnoxious, boring thing if you let it be. But you can get creative as hell. You can make it fun, right? You use the environment, you be imaginative, and get people pumped up. All they want to do is feel good for 15 minutes, especially right now, right?
Yep. Dude, amazing. That's so many people are busy pouting and victimizing themselves because they say, all I have is the park. All I have are these kettlebells. All I have are these dumbbells. Man, that message was home run. I really hope folks take a listen seriously to that, because it can mean the difference between you being that best 15 minutes in that person's life or piling on with your crap to their bad day.
How potentially bad and toxic can Zoom be if you let it be? Right? We teach Zoom classes. I taught 2 already today, right? We have a group of 2 or 3 new members that signed up, and then COVID happened. Their memberships they're paying for. Yeah. They come to Zoom class. We've gotten them equipment, and we've taught them how to move, how to do their stuff. One of them's in an apartment hallway outside on a deck, right? She's doing jump rope out in front of her apartment, right? And she is so pumped to come back to the gym. She's just like, oh my God, I can't wait to pick up a barbell. This has been the coolest experience ever. She's into strongman. She's a little Asian girl.
I love it.
She's in her mid-20s. She loves Bjorn, the strongman guy, Thor, the guy from Game of Thrones. She loves strongman. So it's super fun to get on every night, and we talk about whatever's up. And we got these crazies that just want to get fit and want to connect. And man, I wish we were in the gym. Oh my God, I wish we were in the gym.
As soon as that attraction comes, the gyms are going to open, and I think you're going to see a skyrocket of enthusiasm.
I think so too.
For those that have listened and enjoyed today, how can they find you? What's the easiest way to connect with you? Speaking of connection.
Yeah.
What are your socials? How do they find you?
Dusty Highland on Instagram. You can find me at Dogtown Strength and Conditioning. You can find me at the Skill Wad. That's on Instagram, Facebook. You can always email me. It's dustyhighland@gmail.com. Any questions you're looking for, help, advice, coaching, where to get a dog, where to get a good burger in Culver City. Come see us. Come hang out. Hopefully this COVID thing will be over soon. And bless
Awesome.
you all.
Man, thanks, brother. I appreciate your time today.
You got it. Thanks,
Fantastic.
Eric.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, make sure you like our channel, subscribe, and check out our other videos right here.